Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. But for our radio audience here in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com, we're glad that you all could be with us. Also, joining us are our friends at iHeartRadio and Amazon Music Podcast. We're glad you all could be with us as well. Well, if you guys have been watching Temptation Island, you definitely know our next guest. We're excited to welcome Mark L. Walberg to our program today. We're going to talk to him not only about the success of the show, but also what it's been like for him to use his platform to motivate and inspire other people toward action as well. If you guys are not following Temptation Island, of course we'll let you know where you can be able to see it for yourself. But Mark, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
I'm so glad to talk to you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, the pleasure is definitely all mine. Even outside of Temptation Island, Mark, I love your posts, especially on Twitter. You're always so inspiring and motivating. But I do want to ask you about the success of the show. What has it been like for you to see the way that people have not only gotten involved in Temptation Island, but also the conversations about relationships that have been taking place?
I'm fascinated by it because the show looks like a guilty pleasure on the front. You know, you think it's this kind of messy, crazy journey, and there's this real heart and authenticity about it as well. And I think what happens with the bonfires is that people start to have some really raw conversations, and that has resonated. It's relatable to all of us who are trying to figure out life. Relationship is not easy.
Right. And that brings up an interesting point for you, Mark. I mean, what is it about shows like Temptation Island that made you say this is something that you knew that people would want to tune into and want to be able to have a dialogue about?
You know, I would say I couldn't take credit for that. I would tell you that I did the show originally in 2001. It was a hit for a short time on Fox, and it went away for 18 years or so. And when they wanted to bring it back, they brought me in to talk about it, and I was really just sort of going, you know, what has always been my theory is, you know, bloom where you're planted. You know, you don't really necessarily pick what your opportunities are going to be, but be the best version of you in whatever opportunity it was. So that's kind of how I went into it. What it has turned into has been really an interesting ride for me, and I'm really grateful, you know, that you know, we've been able to have these what I consider to be pretty authentic conversations about relationship, and that people have responded to what I have to say about that has been a real honor, and I've been really grateful for that.
And as I mentioned, Mark, even outside of hosting Temptation Island, you are a person who uses your public platform to be able to share information, to motivate and inspire. Is that just a part of who you are, of someone who tries to be able to encourage other people in their own lives?
Well, you know, I'm a host, not an actor. So the role I play is me, and I found that the more real I am, the better it is for all of us, myself included. And, you know, it's so funny. My social media is, you know, I don't have anybody running it. It's me running it. And so when I have a thought that is usually something I'm going through and grappling with, I'll throw it on Twitter, and, you know, and those who follow me may or may not appreciate it. Sometimes they're just silly, stupid stuff, and sometimes it's reflections that have popped into my mind that I'm just kind of trying to share in hope that, you know, it moves something for other people as it had for me. So I guess it's just you know, kind of who I am.
Right. And I think, you know, as we've been able to follow you, and then, of course, to be able to follow shows like Temptation Island, that is, again, I mean, being such a hit right now for USA Network, we're able to see, I think, the importance of that authenticity that you said. I love the fact that you say that you're not an actor, you're yourself. Is that kind of what drew you to what is looked at as reality television, the fact that you could just be yourself?
Well, you know, the truth is, as a career TV host, what drew me to reality TV, if I'm going to be honest with you, was that that's where the offers were, that people wanted to do reality TV. What made me, I guess, successful there is that I think that audiences want to see, if you're going to do reality TV, they'd like to see something that's actually real. And while there's nothing I can really control as far as what other people do, what I can control is what I do. And so I try to, as a host on everything I do, I try to be the voice of the viewer. And it'll be not about me, but about their experience. And I try to do, as best I can, you know, be true and real and say the things that people at home are thinking, so that they feel part of the show. And so I guess that part of reality TV is something I'm grateful for, you know. And I'm constantly trying to suss through the parts that would be inauthentic or fake. And I'm constantly asking them, you know, that doesn't sound real to me, you know, what's really going on with you? And we usually get down to the truth, which is kind of refreshing.
Well, we are at the time we're having this conversation, Mark, getting ready to come down to the end of this season. What are you looking forward to our audiences taking away? I know you don't want to spoil it for us, but what should we be on the lookout for?
Well, you know, for those of you who are catching up, you know, you can catch up by watching episodes on the Peacock, or you can just start watching Wednesdays at 10, 9 Central on USA Network. But when we get down to the final bonfires, the part that I enjoy, actually, although it's painful to watch, is that you have a couple that came to the island with one mindset about their relationship, and in most cases, concerns about what the other person is or isn't doing. And by the end of it, they're different people, so it's almost like they're meeting each other for the first time again.
Wow. Because
there's so much growth or change that has happened with each individual by the time they get to that final bonfire. So that's the part that I find fascinating. It's like, who have they become in this short time on the island, and how does that manifest as they sit down with the person that they're familiar with and make decisions about the rest of their life?
Well, we're definitely excited. I know when I was previewing it online, Mark, I was really struck by the title of this week's episode, Big Decisions. So that gives us something to be able to think about. Again, everyone, we've been speaking with Mark L. Walberg today. He's the host of Temptation Island. As he mentioned, you guys can catch it on Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central Time on the USA Network. Also, make sure you guys are following them on social media. And, Mark, what about yourself? How can they stay connected with you?
Social media is a great way. You know, I think I'm Mark L. Walberg on Instagram and Mark Walberg on Twitter, or vice versa. You'll have to just make sure it's the Walberg without an H, so that you're talking to the right one of us. And, you know, keep in touch with me there and look for a podcast. I'm going to launch a podcast in the next 2 months that's pretty excited about, where we'll continue this kind of conversation in depth with people all about relationship and life.
Nice. Love it. Mark, thank you so much for the time. I really do appreciate you stopping by, and looking forward to speaking with you again.
Me too. Thank you so much for a thoughtful interview. I appreciate it.
Hey, the pleasure's definitely all mine, and we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live.